Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We're excited to be putting this on, and we're excited to have you here. It's going to be a great webinar. We've had a good amount of people join, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass it over to Ron, and we'll get going.
Great. Thank you, Braden, and welcome, everyone. So if you're running an ITAM program, what should you be focusing on in 2025 in order to maximize business impact? Today, we're going to try and answer that question by identifying 5 areas you may want to pay attention to this year, depending on your situation. And to clarify, this webinar is not meant to be a summary of new ITAM trends. And in fact, some of the areas we'll discuss today are actually tried and true best practices that have been around for decades, but that many organizations still struggle with. And finally, this is a very broad topic, and there's only so much we can cover in 30 minutes. So today will be a high-level discussion only, but if you'd like to get into more detail and examples and case studies and so forth and best practices, please do reach out to me or to anyone at Anglepoint, and we'll be happy to discuss in a lot more detail. So brief intro before we start. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm President, Chairman of Anglepoint, and outside of Anglepoint, I chair the committee for ITAM Standards at ISO. That committee, also known as Working Group 21, owns the ISO 19770 family of standards. I also chair the Board of Trustees at the ITAM Forum, which is a global nonprofit based in London that's working to promote the ITAM industry. And I'm also involved in the FinOps Foundation. Anglepoint is a leading provider of SAM, FinOps, and green IT services. We've been leading the leaders in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for the last 5 years in a row. We've also been leading all 3 use cases that are covered in the Gartner Critical Capabilities report for the same period. And that Critical Capabilities report for 2024, by the way, is a companion to the Gartner Magic Quadrant report and is now available for free download on our website. All right, so as far as the structure for this webinar, we'll first go over what ITAM's 5 for 25 are, represented here by the 5 sides of the pentagon shape. And then we'll do a deeper dive into each one, outlining 5 actions you can start taking immediately for each one of those 5 areas. So kind of for a total of 25 such actions. The first focus area for 2025 is maximizing the value of your investment in SAM tools. SAM tooling is more important than ever and will become even more critical in the future, particularly with the pace of change and growing complexity of IT across hybrid infrastructures, the SAM skills shortage, the need to move to more real-time data, the need to integrate better with systems and workflows, and of course AI, which will require much better visibility to costs. Now, that said, in our experience, many organizations are struggling to maximize the value they get out of their SAM tools and the investments they've made in those tools. And this is a common area of frustration when clients first come to us. The next focus area for 2025 is collaboration with procurement, with nearly all software vendors raising prices and some of them rolling out new licensing models at the same time. Good collaboration between ITAM and procurement is really more important than ever. Now, that said, we see many organizations where these 2 functions operate in silos, where critical information such as contracts is withheld from ITAM and vice versa, where key procurement activities such as those related to renewals, for example, are not supported by ITAM information, even when such information is available. This is a huge missed opportunity for many organizations. And similarly, we see collaboration with FinOps as a key focus area for 2025. With the continued growth of cloud is a key part of the IT infrastructure. The rationale for collaboration or integration between those two functions continues to become even stronger. And from a methodology standpoint as well, the upcoming fourth edition of ISO 19770-1 will bring together alignment with FinOps. And so will recent developments at the FinOps Foundation, with the 2024 framework update introducing the licensing and SaaS capability, amongst others, and the more recent FinOps scopes discussions about expanding FinOps to areas beyond the public cloud, such as SaaS and on-prem. Sustainability is another area to have on your radar in 2025. Certainly, if your organization is subject to regulatory reporting requirements, because it is the IT assets, hardware, software, and cloud that generate much of the environmental impact, it is that ITAM is uniquely positioned to lead or at least be a major contributor to sustainability efforts within IT. What is interesting here is that the ITAM activities that we do every day to reduce waste in hardware and software, and the FinOps activities that we do every day to right-size usage in cloud also happen to be the same activities that you would do to reduce environmental impact. And in fact, Gartner predicted in a paper they released in the last 6 months that by 2028, 60% of organizations will incorporate environmental sustainability within ITAM and FinOps as a key means to optimize utilization and reduce costs. 60% of organizations. But even without that Gartner prediction and what it means towards future-proofing your ITAM practice, you may want to ensure you don't miss this opportunity to kind of elevate the visibility of your ITAM function. And finally, it seems we're really not allowed to have any talk nowadays without mention of AI. And there are two aspects of AI that are relevant to ITAM. ITAM for AI, and that's really about controlling the costs and risks associated with running AI initiatives and workloads. AI costs are really getting out of control at many organizations, and this is an area of concern for a growing number of CIOs. Then AI for ITAM is really about leveraging AI to help make ITAM more effective and efficient. SAM tool vendors are working to incorporate such capabilities, and there are other tools in the marketplace that you may be able to utilize in your ITAM program. So with this, I'll turn it back to Braden to run the poll.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, everyone, you should see a poll in front of you now to rank the following priorities, the 5 that Ron just covered for your organization in 2025. We'll give you a few seconds to answer that, and then we'll share the results. Okay, we'll stop there. And any thoughts on the results there, Ron?
Yeah, interesting. I think definitely kind of the order in which we provided them here is roughly the order of importance that people place on them, which is kind of consistent with our expectation as well. Yeah, very interesting. SAM tooling is the highest priority, followed by procurement. Yep. I think that kind of all makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, thank you. All right. So let's talk about getting value from your SAM tool, which is a pain point for many organizations. One source of frustration is unrealistic expectations from SAM tools. Maybe the sales rep told you that if you only buy this tool, you will achieve mature SAM out of the box, and millions of dollars of cost savings will somehow start flowing into the bank account by themselves. But reality, of course, is that while some tools are very good and actually getting better, no tool is a silver bullet, right? They all require significant work and expertise to deploy and configure correctly, and they have limitations even then. For example, there are licensing structures which could not be measured entirely by any tool out of the box, such as those involving non-hardware related metrics and others. Having realistic expectations and knowing what tools can and cannot do is really the first step. Once you've bought the tool, you're not done. In fact, you're only getting started. You need to install and deploy and configure the tool, deploy the agents, integrate workflows with other systems in your organizations, whether those related to procurement, CMDB, or others. You need to onboard publishers to the tool and a lot more. So doing all this requires time, money, and expertise that you need to plan and budget for. You will simply not get a return on investment in your tool if you don't take this step seriously. Data quality is always an issue with tools, right? The saying "garbage in, garbage out," right? So let 2025 be the year that you take out the garbage, so to speak, right? There are many reasons for poor data quality, from issues with agent coverage, network visibility, lack of integrations with other systems, poor data in those other systems, legacy issues, and many more reasons. If you don't address data quality head on, you will continue to really chase your own tail. And also other stakeholders will start losing trust in ITAM data. We could spend a whole day talking about what is involved in improving data quality, and this is an area that Anglepoint has been able to transform for many organizations, but it's absolutely critical. Prioritization is also key, right? If you try to boil the ocean, and by this I mean trying to get 100% completeness and accuracy for all your publishers, you will fail. Instead, you may want to think about a tiered approach, where for your top publishers, say, those 10 or 12 publishers that make up 80% of your spend, you do what it takes to get that completeness and accuracy. But then for the next tier after that, you simply rely on what the tool can do out of the box, because the ROI, the return on investment, is just not there to do any more than that for those publishers. And then finally, you must utilize deep licensing expertise, whether it's internal or external, to take data coming out of the tool, analyze it, come up with insights about cost savings opportunities as well as risks, and work with the stakeholders to actually realize or achieve the cost savings and to actually mitigate the risks, right? If you're not doing this, you might as well not have a tool at all, because it is only in this step that you actually realize the value from your investment. Right, let's talk about collaboration with procurement. The first step is to understand each other's needs and expectations, right? Educate procurement about ITAM, and conversely, understand how procurement people are measured. Work to achieve alignment on objectives and the policies, the workflows, and the systems that will be used to achieve those objectives. And then most importantly, perhaps, really don't operate in silos, right? This starts by sharing relevant data with each other. Again, going back to the point about data. For example, procurement should share all contracts with ITAM, which you may be surprised does not always happen. And then ITAM should share information about license consumption and compliance risks. This is This is key, and the important thing is to agree on data definitions and standards, as well as reporting templates and reporting platforms and so on. Data that is not standardized and is not understood does not really add much value to anyone. Renewals is a specific opportunity for ITAM and procurement to work together. But this needs to be planned ahead, right? Have a calendar for all your contracts that are coming up for renewal in the next 12 to 18 months. For example, prioritize the key contracts, start engaging early so ITAM can make a real difference, right? As opposed to, being brought in at the 11th hour, if at all. And then finally, it's very important to celebrate successes, right? For example, if there was a joint collaboration that led to cost saving on a renewal or as part of an audit response, it's really key to ensuring continued collaboration and continued executive support. So don't skip that. All right, moving on to FinOps. We've had other webinars dedicated to ITAM and FinOps, so we'll go over this one relatively quickly here, given our time constraint. So as with procurement, the first step is to establish a relationship between the parties and understand mutual needs and expectations. ITAM should get trained on FinOps, so if you don't already have at least the basic practitioner certification, I really highly recommend you get that one. ITAM should also understand how FinOps has been specifically implemented within your organization and vice versa, right? FinOps should become familiar with ITAM and what ITAM is doing and what ITAM deliverables look like and so on. Alignment on objectives, policies, and workflows is the next step. And that's followed by alignment on tooling strategy and roadmap to support the objectives and workflows. Again, as with the procurement discussion, you should not operate in silos, and that starts with data being shared. Data is king, right? Not just any data, but standardized data, right? Where definitions are agreed and understood by everyone. And then finally, you want to eventually be able to report on the true complete cost of the cloud, including both the infrastructure as well as the software that runs on that infrastructure, right? Be it, BYOL or marketplace sourced or whatever. And whether a cost appears on the AWS or Azure bill, or rather it appears on some other bills, really it shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter to engineering. It shouldn't matter to the CIO. And it shouldn't matter to anyone else for that matter, right? But, for many FinOps practitioners, the cloud bill is really the extent of their comfort zone, right? So you may need to help them step outside of that comfort zone. There's so much more on FinOps and ITAM that we can be talking about. It's a big part of what we do every day. It's a big part of the future of ITAM. And again, we'll be happy to discuss with you separately if you have the interest. Let's talk about sustainability next. And here as well, we've had other webinars dedicated to this, to sustainability and to green IT. So we'll go over this one relatively quickly. The first step is really to understand the impact of sustainability on your organization and specifically on IT. Is your organization subject to legal and regulatory requirements, for example, requirements from customers or vendors? Or maybe there are self-imposed goals, such as the board or CIO announcing that the organization will become net zero by 2040 or similar, right? If there are such requirements, understand what those requirements are and what the impact on IT is. And then you can understand what the gaps are relative to where you currently are at. Next, you develop a plan for green IT. How are you going to fill those gaps? And then you roll into kind of the inform, optimize, operate cycle, which we've borrowed from kind of the FinOps framework, but it's just as applicable to sustainable IT, right? This is where you have kind of a continuous improvement cycle that really never ends. And in Inform, you focus on trustworthy carbon or other environmental data that you can report on in a repeatable way. In Optimize, you use the trustworthy data to identify opportunities to reduce emissions, and then in Operate, you run and govern your sustainable IT program. Again, there's so much more in green IT we could be discussing, including emerging best practices, and we'll be happy to discuss in more detail separately. And finally, let's talk about AI. And we'll start with ITAM for AI, or what can ITAM do to help manage the IT assets that are used within IT initiatives in the organization, right? The first step is really to, I guess, educate yourself about AI, and more importantly, about what your organization is doing with AI. What are the licensing usage and costs that are associated with AI in your organization, whether centrally controlled or, as the case often is, decentralized and business-led, right? Also, to the extent possible, you want to start establishing relationships with those stakeholders over the AI initiatives. AI costs going out of control is a big concern, as we've mentioned, and any reports that are showing what those costs are across hardware, software, and cloud, how those costs are trending, are going to be very relevant to decision makers and position ITAM and FinOps to provide value and be even more visible to executive management. This task is particularly challenging given the decentralized nature of AI infrastructure in many organizations. Also, it's not on this slide because it's kind of outside the scope of this webinar. But once you have the data, you can start looking at cost reduction opportunities. And these may include anything from governance and accountability around AI spend to improving the efficiency of AI models to FinOps approaches to right-sizing usage and reducing rates to using open source and cheaper hosting alternatives where possible, right? Given that, at least for AI training, you may not worry as much about latency and reliability, and many more best practices. Okay, so let's move on to AI for ITAM. And the first question you may want to ask yourself is, what are the desired business outcomes for AI, and how and where you could use AI to make ITAM more effective and efficient? What are your particular pain points where AI could be part of the solution? Next, you will want to evaluate your SAM tool or tools for their AI capabilities and roadmap, right? Where are they now? What are the other capabilities that are being developed that you may be able to use, and what that timeline may look like? And the same for other SAM tools outside of your SAM tool, I guess, other AI tools. There's an increasing number of solutions out there, as you probably know, right? Whether they're generic consumer-grade tools like ChatGPT to specific enterprise solution, say around contract analysis, as we've seen in others. Finally, and maybe most importantly, it's really all about data again, right? AI requires standardized, complete, and accurate data. So even if you don't plan to implement any AI initiatives or capabilities the next year or two, it still now is the time to start cleaning up and improving data quality. So now is really the time to take that garbage out, as we mentioned, right? And this is the same point we've discussed about SAM tooling as well. All right, so to recap, here are the 5 focus areas for 2025 that we went over at a really high level today. And again, there's only so much detail we can cover in 20 minutes, but we're happy to discuss all of these and more in depth separately. And before we move on to the Q&A part of our webinar, I'll turn it back to Braden for another announcement.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Thanks for your presenting as well. Like Ron said, we are going to have a few minutes for Q&A. So if you have your questions, start typing those into the Q&A now while we announce this. We just did want to let you know that next month we will be hosting an event in central London. It's Anglepoint focused. The topic, the theme of it is ITAM Excellence Together. This event is for end users only. But if you're in the area, we would love to have you there. I'm pasting in the chat now a link that you can go to register for the event. We're super excited for it. It'll be a great afternoon. We're gonna have some good sessions and then a networking and happy hour. So that's all we have for that. So we can move on to the Q&A now. We have just a few minutes to address that. So Ron, we had a few questions come in. One of them starts with the SAM tools, and they're just wondering, is there anything that you're seeing SAM tools that are doing or that they're planning to do in 2025 that stands out to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think 2 areas that we're seeing SAM tools improving on from a capability and roadmap perspective. One is better integration with other systems and workflows. And this is kind of a natural evolution for SAM tools. If you think about, a decade ago, SAM tools really kind of operated in a silo. They were supposed to be kind of standalone systems. Now the understanding is that they have to integrate, whether with procurement system, with workflow-related systems, with CMDB-related systems, and so forth, and others. And so there's much better integration. The other is we're seeing SAM tool vendors focusing on AI and how to leverage that in certain areas. For example, contract analysis and so forth, and others. I would say those are probably 2 areas. A lot of integration as well between ITAM and FinOps, which makes a ton of sense given where everything is heading. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Maybe to follow up with that, we just had one come in that says, new SAM tools proposed to show compliance reports in real time, but we often encounter a lot of issues for complex licensing like SQL Server. Is there a way to automate compliance for such complex licensing in SAM tools, or do you think there will always be some manual tasks that have to be done?
Yeah, that's a great question. And some of the SAM tool providers may disagree with me, but I think what it would take to get near real time true ELPs, true compliance reports for many of those more complex scenarios is it's going to take AI. And the reason is there's a reason why there's all that manual work that's required, right? To take contracts and entitlement data and transform that into license entitlement information, and then to take deployment information and transform that to license consumption information. You have to understand use cases. You have to understand a lot of things that are not easy for a tool to understand, right? So could that be automated and provided in real time? My personal take is yes, but with AI, and we're probably not quite there yet.
Awesome. Thank you. We're over time, so maybe we'll just do one more question. We've had a few come in related to AI, so I'll kind of try and condense them into one here. I think a lot of people are just curious. if you have seen or can think of any examples of AI for ITAM that you mentioned.
Yeah, there's a number of examples. We use components of AI within our platform, Elevate, to do certain specific tasks around product bundling, around other things. Contract analysis is one area that makes sense. And so, yeah, there are specific areas where certain tasks could be done much more effectively and efficiently with AI. Certain tasks that are involved in the analytics and the data analysis that ultimately helps generate ELPs. So yeah, we're starting to see more and more of that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time today, Ron. We really appreciate it. Your insights are super helpful, and thank you so much for being willing to do this. And thanks to everyone who attended, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And again, if you have more questions or you want to talk about any of these things more in depth, we're happy to have those conversations. Feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brendan.